Good evening, dear viewers. Hello and welcome to a new episode of The Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Ibrahim. And tonight we'll be talking about the grand-awaited moment, Egypt's gift to the world, the official inauguration of GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, being described not only as the biggest museum in the world, but the biggest cultural city in the world. This event, which will take place here in Egypt on Saturday and will feature the attendance of dozens of kings, princes, presidents, heads of state and officials from many countries around the world. So GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and a big ceremony on Saturday, and really to continue Sunday, Monday and Tuesday will be our main topic. And tonight with us here in the studio is Dr. Ibrahim Abdulaziz Hegazy, Professor of Marketing at the Department of Business Administration, the American University in Cairo. A very good evening to you, Dr. Hegazy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Dr. Hegazy. Allow us, Dr. Hegazy, please, and dear viewers, first to read our top stories of the night.
Sure.
As His Excellency the President received on Thursday Sheikh Ahmed El Abdullah El Ahmed Al Sabah, the Prime Minister of Kuwait. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Mohammed Shimawi said that President Sisi began the meeting by welcoming Egypt's distinguished guest, emphasizing the depth of the strategic relations between Egypt and Kuwait and the historical ties binding the two brotherly peoples. He conveyed his greetings to His Highness Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, the Emir of the State of Kuwait, and commended His Highness's continuous efforts to achieve development and prosperity in the sisterly state of Kuwait. Ambassador Shimawi further added that the Prime Minister of Kuwait in turn conveyed the greetings of His Highness Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah to President Sisi, praising the tangible progress witnessed in the Egyptian-Kuwaiti relations across all levels and affirming Kuwait's keenness to deepen the historical bonds of cooperation between the two countries in various fields. He also congratulated President Sisi on the upcoming opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum GEM, which embodies Egypt's cultural stature and rich history, expressing Kuwait's appreciation for the important role played by the Egyptian community in Kuwait, which has made and continues to make significant contributions to many aspects of life in Kuwait, particularly in the health and education sectors. Also on Thursday, President Sisi received Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki. The official spokesperson for the presidency stated that President Sisi praised the Egyptian-Eritrean relations. President Isaias Afwerki's visit to Egypt and participation in the opening ceremony of GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum. Ambassador Shimawi emphasized Egypt's pride in the deep-rooted strategic relations that bind it to Eritrea and its keenness to enhance bilateral cooperation in various fields, particularly economic and investment sectors, in support of President Afwerki's efforts to advance national development. This reaffirms the agreements reached during President Sisi's historic visit to the Eritrean capital Asmara in October of 2014. Ambassador Shimawi, the official spokesperson, added that the meeting witnessed an in-depth exchange of views on regional developments, with President Sisi reaffirming Egypt's unwavering commitment to supporting Eritrea's sovereignty and territorial integrity. For his part, the Eritrean president expressed his deep appreciation for Egypt's role under the leadership of President Sisi in consolidating stability and advancing development efforts in the Horn of Africa and East Africa. All right, those were our top stories of the night, and now to our main segment and main topic here in the daily debate, the awaited grand moment, the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum. And with us is Dr. Ibrahim Abdulaziz Hegazy, Professor of Marketing at the AUC. Dr. Hegazy, it's a big moment. I mean, we've been waiting for it for so long, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you see this gem? How do you see this grand Egyptian museum, which is being described already before its official inauguration as not only the biggest museum in the world, but the biggest open cultural city in the world?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me for such a milestone event for Egypt modern culture. But first of all, allow me, because we're talking to Egyptians and non-Egyptians alike, so I would like just to shed some light on GEM itself, because the word museum for me as a marketing professor is not an accurate word to reflect what's in there. So when we talk about GEM and the outcome expected from GEM, then people have to know, is it just a museum or something else? So allow me for a couple of minutes,
yes, please,
to describe. First of all, the GEM is divided, the Grand Egyptian Museum, GEM, which is actually the jewel at the end of the day, but it is divided into three parts. The first part is the core museum and the exhibition spaces or galleries. You have the Grand Hall, which is what we call the atrium, where the entrance is, and King Ramses, the statue, is there welcoming the visitors. And then you have the grand staircase, and it includes approximately 60 monumental artifacts. And then we have the jewel of the GEM, which is King Tut Ankhamun Gallery. And this is the first time that the world will see the entire collection of King Tut, which is approximately 5,000 artifacts. Then you have 12 main exhibition halls, and that includes approximately the whole history chronologically of ancient Egypt. So that's the main part of the museum. Is that it? No, I don't think this is it with all the glamour that we're giving to a GEM. We have a research and education and conservation center. That includes, first of all, a conservation center for the restoration of our ancient monuments and statues. And that's going to be a global relationship between our museum and the network of European museums. And then you have a children museum, which is a very interactive digital museum for youth and children to learn about their history. That's the second part two of the museum, or of GEM. And then you have a conference center and atrium. And last but not the least, you have a library for Egyptologists from Egypt or from around the world. And it is expected to be the largest Egyptology-driven library in the world. That's the second part. Did we stop about that? Not yet. We have the third part, which has to do with the economic side. You have a commercial zone, which has our Egyptian handicrafts being displayed and sold there. You have restaurants and cafes. You have hotels connected to GEM. And you have the sustainable infrastructure. This is what GEM is all about. So we're not talking only about the exhibition galleries and the museum itself, but we're talking about a hub, as you mentioned, that a hub is more of a global cultural hub. Part of it, definitely, which will be the main attraction, is the Grand Museum itself.
Indeed, again, the biggest cultural city in the world, one of the best descriptions I have heard about GEM. Now, Dr. Hegazy, the fact that GEM overlooks the Giza Plateau, and of course home to the largest collection of Egyptian antiquities ever assembled under one roof, but just overlooking the Giza Plateau, how does this add to the value of this cultural city?
Any travel is a journey. And I think they were very correct in placing the museum the way it is, because actually it is overlooking the Giza Plateau or the Pyramid Plateau. And that's why it's the completion of the tourist visitor to this location is actually ended up with our Great Pyramid. And I think there is already a connection taking place between the museum and the plateau itself. And we should not forget also the Sphinx itself.
Yeah. And of course, also GEM has been described as a global symbol of a renaissance and a bridge between the past and the future.
Exactly.
A bridge between heritage and innovation. The fact that, you know, it's also there are many technological tools available here. From a marketing point of view or from an economic point of view, how would you best talk about the bridge between past and future,
yeah.
and the bridge between heritage and innovation?
Exactly. I totally agree with what has been said as the motto, that we are displaying our heritage in the new vision of the 21st century. Bear in mind that we are talking to youth and we are talking to the new generation, whether Egyptians or non-Egyptians alike. So when you have the augmented reality or the virtual reality and the interactivity between the visitor and the monuments and statues in that place, this is what we call it the tourist journey. And so truly you have the heritage, but at the same time that heritage is displayed in a very high-tech format that gives the ability to compare our gem with world-class museums around the world. And I think this is very important because technology now has to play a major role, since this is the tech generation.
Now, Egypt is among the top 30 destinations worldwide as most visited countries, or when it comes to tourism. But Egypt's potential is not to be in the top 30. Egypt's potential is to be in the top 10, at least, right? Not just the top 20. How can GEM add to this potential, knowing that Egypt has roughly like 2/3 of the world's monuments and historical
yeah. First of all, we should know that GEM was, when it was started as development, it was in 2008. And it was actually taken into consideration afterwards, especially with the coming of President El-Sisi in power. Then we placed GEM as part of our 2030 vision of Egypt. And if we take the 2030 vision of Egypt into tourism, we expect to have, or we forecast and predict to reach the 30 million tourists. And I think GEM will play a major role in that. Number one, it is very important to know that definitely the touristic traffic to Egypt will expand dramatically because of the exposure that the launching event will have, and because of what we were talking about, that it is not just the museum, it's also the library, it's the research center, it is the hub of cultural events that takes place about archaeology in general terms. And that's the plan here. And that's why the GEM management has made partnership agreement with the networks of European museums. Why? Because this will enhance not just visiting the museum itself, but it will also enhance what we call the conference and exhibition hub as Egypt for tourism. And I think this is expected to increase tourism, and this is the forecast not only of the Egyptian government, but it also of the international associations of tourism.
So how might the museum influence tourist behavior? More visits, more new visits, more repeat visits, longer stays, higher spending? How do you think it's going to work out?
Well, for cultural tourism, generally speaking, is not a repetitive visitor. Because I used to work as member of the board of directors of Egypt Tourism Authority. And cultural tourism, which is what we're talking about here, is just a one-time event. And that's why I still insist that we are not talking only about the museum itself. We are talking about this triangle of pillars of the hub itself, if I want to call it here. So definitely it will attract tourists to see.
So maybe longer stays.
Exactly. Longer and more money spent.
Yeah.
These three things. Yeah. It's more tourists coming because now you have everything in one place, and it's a huge number of artifacts that they will be exposed to it, with the history of each one of them being displayed on a high-tech basis. So that's number one. That will tend, since this is a larger number and it's going to not take one day, So it is expected that the duration also will expand.
I remember reading something like, Dr. Hegazy, that you need 3 days, 72 hours to walk around, just walk around.
I believe the King Tut Gallery by itself is going to take 1 day, because you have over 5,000 pieces, and they all, I don't want to go into the details of these pieces, but it is very impressive. Not just the coffin and the mask and the chair, but there are other things. And so we expect that, first of all, tourism will increase. Not only that, but you have also employment will increase. So if you are talking about the economy of Egypt itself, this is expected that the economy will increase, because there is approximately 1,500 employees in the gem management itself. Second, you have what we call it the hospitality management, meaning the travel agency, the tour operators, the hotels. So this also will expect from GEM also to increase in terms of
We'll be talking more about the economic aspect, Dr. Hegazy, and dear viewers of GEM. And before we watch a report that our team has prepared about GEM and the awaited official inauguration, that a huge event, also the fact that, safe Egypt, secure Egypt, after hosting the world in Sharm el-Sheikh and reaching that historic Gaza ceasefire deal, now we're waiting also for something like the vicinity of 60 top state heads of state, of states and representatives from many countries around the world. What does this say about Egypt's position, again, globally, as a cradle for peace, the cradle of civilization? What does it say?
I would have to say, actually, that safety of the climate in Egypt here, political stability, and the safety and the economic growth that everybody is witnessing, even in terms of the national financial institutions that accredit countries. Our accreditation is positive. So we have safe environment with all the surrounding that is going on, but still safe. Why I'm saying this? Because President Macron, he came, and on his way back, where he was walking, in Khan el-Khalili Bazaar area. This is a very crowded area, and he was very relaxed. And so when he left from the plane, he mentioned Egypt, and he thanked President Sisi for the visit.
And President Macron, of course, will be there on
Saturday.
Number
2, Tony Blair, in the conference itself, he had a press conference, and he again spoke about Egypt and the growth and the role that President Sisi playing in peace. So imagine one ex-prime minister and one still current president of two great nations like UK and France speaking positively about the environment in Egypt. That gives a head up for us as Egyptians to be proud of what we are into.
And President Trump himself spoke about how secure Egypt is.
I forgot it.
Yeah, it is, of course.
Yeah. And he talked about
meeting with President Sisi and
he talked about the crime rate.
Yeah.
I forgot
and the fact that he wished he would have that crime rate in the U.S.
Exactly.
That low
exactly.
crime rate in
so
the U.S.
That's not just the peace treaty or the peace conference was just the tip of the iceberg itself, but the ice itself was all that these events that are taking place. Trump, Macron, Tony Blair. I mean, what else you need as a testimonial of the safety of Egypt?
Dr. Hegazy, dear viewers, let's watch a report about GEM and about the awaited big event on Saturday, and then we'll come back and continue our discussion.
The long-awaited opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum marks a defining moment in Egypt's modern history, not merely as a cultural achievement, but as a reflection of the nation's broader journey of economic reform, infrastructure development, and strategic investment. Positioned near the pyramids of Giza, this monumental project embodies Egypt's vision of linking its ancient civilization to its contemporary drive for progress and global engagement. The museum's inauguration comes after a decade of transformative efforts to strengthen Egypt's economic foundations. Comprehensive reforms in fiscal policy, investment climate, and industrial expansion have contributed to restoring stability and confidence in the Egyptian economy. Simultaneously, the government has undertaken large-scale infrastructure projects, from new road networks and upgraded airports to expanded energy capacity and urban development, all of which have created the essential groundwork for hosting global events of historic and cultural significance. The Grand Egyptian Museum itself represents an investment in both heritage and the future. As the world's largest archaeological museum, it houses over 100,000 artifacts, including the complete collection of King Tutankhamun, displayed together for the first time. Beyond preserving and showcasing ancient treasures, the museum functions as a hub for education, tourism, and international cooperation in the fields of archaeology and cultural heritage. Economically, the museum's opening is expected to generate wide-ranging benefits. It will serve as a catalyst for growth across several sectors, including tourism, aviation, transportation, and real estate. Increased visitor inflows will stimulate hotel occupancy, retail activity, and related services, while also encouraging further foreign and domestic investment. Moreover, the hosting of international conferences, exhibitions, and cultural events at the museum will enhance Egypt's global profile and contribute to sustained economic dynamism. The impact extends beyond numbers and revenues. The Grand Egyptian Museum reinforces Egypt's soft power, promoting a narrative of cultural leadership, resilience, and modernity. It sends a clear message that Egypt is not only the cradle of ancient civilization, but also a nation capable of innovation and global participation in the 21st century. In a sense, the museum's opening stands as both a celebration of Egypt's past and a declaration of its future. Built on the solid pillars of reform, infrastructure, and investment, it symbolizes a new era where heritage and progress converge, paving the way for economic prosperity, cultural exchange, and national pride.
Thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us. Many thanks to Manal Al-Ibyari and Khalid Abdelbari for this report. And we're back here with Dr. Ibrahim Hegazy in the studio. Now, Dr. Hegazy, I mean, a beautiful report. I mean, beautiful Egypt. I mean, something that always, keeps coming back to me, at least. I mean, Egypt markets itself. This is, by default. I mean, Egypt is a brand. How come, again, we're not the top visited country in the world, or the second, or the fourth, or the ninth, and we're only in the top 30 from a marketing? And you're the professor of marketing. So there must be shortages here and there, and some of these shortages must also come to the marketing issue.
I think what we need, if we talk about gem marketing, I think what we need is to look at who is the target in this case. The target definitely is a huge marketplace. But I'm talking about target in terms of generations. Which generation are we targeting? Are we targeting the old generation or the new generation? Are we talking the future or the present and the future? I mean, present tourists and future tourists. So I think we should target, if we look at the statistics globally, of the segment of Gen Z, definitely it is constituting more than 55% of the entire globe population. And that's why this is the one. And then when you talk about our ancient heritage delivered in a high-tech profile that fits this generation, then automatically your marketing communication activities, which is part of marketing, has to be digitally driven. You have to rely on what we call the tourist marketing influencers, who actually tour around the world and they have so many followers. You have to target the celebrities who are related to tourism, and we call them our Egyptian ambassadors, not political ambassadors, but it's a terminology for us that these people are advocating Egypt and the beauty of Egypt. And also have to target journalists. And then, last but not the least, because it's a must, you have to have this kind of an advertising global campaign in our main destination. Our main destinations that comes to Egypt, fortunately, it is Europe, it is Germany, it is Italy, it is England, and this is where a bulk that comes. We have started to open new markets like Japan, China, and India, believe it or not. So our campaign has to focus on them, in addition to being digitally active as promoting Egypt tourism. And also for GEM, marketing GEM should not be only for the statues and monuments, which is, though I call it this is the appetizer. But Egypt itself has so many other things which are very important for tourists, which is the culture, the hospitality of Egyptians, the culture. Unlike other Arab countries, the culture is not there, so they create an artificial culture. We have a heritage of 7,000 years settling on the Nile, so we are very hospitable. Our hospitality has to be driven in our campaigns. And this is, I think, what Egypt should be doing. I hope they are doing it, actually.
And of course, Egypt is a very diverse destination when it comes to tourism. I mean, it's not just about cultural tourism. I mean, exactly. Egypt basically has more or less every kind of tourism possible that exactly. you can think of. Yeah. And this is why we keep saying, like, we want to be in the top 10. I mean, we deserve to be in the top 10. Egypt deserves that place.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah. We are so rich. I mean,
we are so rich in terms of culture.
Yeah.
The culture means the historical things.
Yeah. Rich cultural heritage.
But we have something in tourism called sea, sand, and sun. And when you look at the global destinations,
and we are rich in sea, exactly. and sand and sun.
Yeah, but the global destinations are based on sea, sand, and sun, not on culture. You know, this is the agony.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Because they are right, because this is where the tourists come back again and again and again. And so truly we attract tourists by the culture, but we have to strengthen the sea, sand, and sun. And we don't talk only about 5-star hotels. We should talk about 4-star hotels, 3-star hotels, hostels.
And when you talked about, some of our favorite markets, I mean, we also have a good Russian market, a good Ukrainian market, and elsewhere, exactly. not just Western Europe or, even Eastern Europe. Now, Dr. Hegazy, the community and educational value of GEM, how do you see that?
Well, I see the educational comes in what GEM has as an education center. Also, GEM has this education museum. They have auditoriums for workshops and lectures. They have a center for conferences. And this is where education comes. It's not just academic education, but it is a cultural education to highlight Egypt and to highlight the history of Egypt. And I think this is part that I hope that when we market the GEM, we don't just market the statues and monuments, because this is one time. But people should come when there is this circular of exhibitions and centers of attractions. And I think they did a wonderful job to mixing the three pillars together, the commercial pillar with the research center and educational center pillar, and of course the jewel of the GEM is the exhibitions, which is the statues and monuments.
I see you, Dr. Hegazy, swerving around sustainability.
Exactly.
And the meaning of sustainability. Yeah. So how can sustainability of such a potential big success of GEM be achieved?
First of all, we have to, the audience, the viewer has to be aware that the development itself and the construction of GEM was a green museum. And I think it is the first African Middle Eastern green museum. What do we mean by that? We mean that the energy, the sourcing is sustainable. Sourcing are sustainable in terms of the raw materials that were developed, and the equipments that were brought to the museum are from local sources, and that gives you sustainability. You don't have to rely on external sources. You have the solar system itself as energy. It is expected to be zero carbon emissions, and that's part also. You have the ventilations. It is passive ventilation without using air conditioners, and that's by itself also, it's a very important part. Aside from the monuments galleries, because they have to be preserved at a certain controlled climate. And then you have recycling. The water is recycled there. So this is part of, we call it the environment sustainability. But the sustainability of the continuity of the museum itself started with the public-private partnership, triple Ps. Those who built it were private sector. Those who are going to manage GEM are private sector. Number one. Number two, JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency. It was a partner in developing and constructing GEM. So again, the budget from the government was minimum at that expense. Last but not least, as I said,
yes,
there is a partnership with, we call it NEMO, which is the network of European museum organizations. We have partnership that is made already by our air carrier, our Egyptian national air carrier, Egypt Air. It's not just sponsoring, but it's also partnering. It's going to provide specific packages for tourists coming, especially to see the Grand Museum. Last but not the least, definitely we are partner with the major global business-to-business tour operators. And this what will provide the sustainability of the museum. We don't rely on the government. The government has played its role, but in order to be sustainable, you have to contract the private sector and the international organizations that are interested in global tourism.
You know, Dr. Hegazy, the last time I visited GEM was like 6 years ago. It was already under construction. We were filming here at Nile TV. And I visited like maybe 3 or 4 times, and it was already huge. I mean, even 6 years ago. So I can't imagine how it looks like now. I mean, last time I was there, 2019, yeah, it was already beautiful. So we can't imagine how it looks like now. I mean, must be so gorgeous. Dr. Hegazy, also, we've seen in the past 10 years or so efforts from the part of the state to try and link cultural tourism with entertainment and with leisure tourism.
Yes.
We saw, for instance, in big touristic cities in the Red Sea like Hurghada or in Sharm el-Sheikh in southern Sinai, the construction of museums, so as to try to have leisure and culture tourism there at place in the same time. Those who come to GEM overlooking the Giza Plateau will also be, I guess, exposed to some sort of leisure, potential leisure tourism in the surrounding areas, or there must be plans for that.
Okay, now, this is exactly what I'm trying to reach, that people who come once to see our statues and monuments and King Tut, once I saw it, that's it. But please remember the events that took place, and it's currently a number of them are taking place with the background of the pyramids. Global singers, classic singers, and global Gen Z events, and see the number of views when we had these kind of videos circulating in the social media. This is how we promote Egypt, and I think this is what we're trying to say, that we attract them by our mighty ancient civilization, but we have to use it for this return tourists. And I think the Ministry of Tourism is going in that right direction, to try to showcase our heritage, but with the repeat kind of tourists. And when you have one event that has 10,000 people coming from outside for one day or one event, that by itself is an achievement for Egypt tourism.
Of course, and there will be side events on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday as well. Dr. Hegazy, how can the success of GEM inspire projects around the country in tourism and maybe also in other areas?
You have a formula that has not been tested before. Number one, the formula that I'm talking about, the 3 pillars of our GEM hub. I don't want to say museum only. And so definitely you will be a catalyst for other countries who would like to follow the dimensions of bringing ancient civilizations into reality of the new century.
The bridge.
Exactly, with this interactive digital technology. So it's not only a replica going to be for other museums, and they are very important for us, like the Karnak, the Temple of Karnak, like, you know, Valley of the King, and there are so many other places. It's not just a museum, but it's how you present your ancient tourism in an interactive digital way. And I think the next step now with the success that we have on GEM, it should be duplicated in other destinations, tourist destinations in Egypt. And I'm talking specifically about Upper Egypt, because there is so many, you know, displayed, you know, real life museums, not man-made museums.
Yeah.
This is one.
Again, yeah. I mean,
I expect this to happen, but I expect more that we should be the leaders for other countries to take our know-how, how to do this. And I think this will come soon.
Dr. Hegazy, how can you estimate the short, mid, and long-term potential economic returns from GEM? Tourism, hospitality, service industries linked to the museum, the economic benefit.
Okay. Let me tell you that here we're talking about the gross national product of Egypt, which is the total output of any products and services presented by Egypt. And so when you want to increase GDP, which is the abbreviation for gross domestic product, you have investments. We're talking about investments, local investments or national investments and foreign direct investment. And so expected that when you have this success of the GEM, all areas around it will be developed in construction or real estate development and project-based development. So that's number one. And I'm not talking only about foreign direct investment coming to Egypt. I'm talking about local investments, because I think we have good developers who know how to do things right, without mentioning specific names. But then you have exports. That's part of it. And whether we understand it or not, tourism is part of our export, because it brings us our hard currency or foreign currency. So it is expected also that this part of the GMP calculation, it will grow dramatically. And I expect it here dramatically in 2026, not 2030. Because we did something very good, which is the Sphinx International Airport. And again, the distance between the Sphinx and the Grand Museum is smooth traveling. You don't have to cross all Egypt to go to that direction. So imagine that tourism will lead to increasing of our export outputs, which is the hard currency. And thirdly is the government spending. The GNP also is about government spending. But government spending in this case is in the salaries and payments and the infrastructures around GEM and any projects. And we have already done that. I mean, if you go there, it's a totally different place than it used to be 5 and 6 years ago. So that by itself is a spending on the economy. But the spender here is the government itself. But it is spending on something one time or something that is considered to be a future asset for us. These infrastructures, these monorails, this is electric trains and the bridges and highways. I mean, this is all spending, and spending goes for employing Egyptians in the private sector. And then the last but not the least is the consumption by us when we visit, or by tourists when they come and visit the place. So that's what I expect. GEM, it's a tourist attraction, it's a heritage, and we are very proud of it as Egyptians, because no country on the earth has, forget about the number, but I'm talking about the history itself and the sustainability of the history. We're talking about Coptic religion, we're talking about Islamic religion, we're talking about ancient Egyptians, and
Roman, Ptolemaic,
and we forgot also,
you name it.
We forgot also Judaism, because Moses and the Sinai. I mean, remember all of this. And you want to tell me that we cannot put Egypt in a higher bracket? Yes, we can.
Final question, Dr. Hegazy. When we say that GEM is Egypt's gift to the world,
yes,
how would you describe that gift? And again, taking into consideration that this is not just a museum, it's a cultural city overlooking the pyramids and the Sphinx,
yes,
overlooking the Giza Plateau.
Yeah. It is a gift to the world, but it is a pride for us, because for the first time in the 21st century, we know how to talk to the world. How to talk in terms of presenting ourselves, presenting our history, and presenting in a way that is far beyond any museum that exists in our area here. And not only that, even in Europe, I don't think I've visited so many museums and I have not seen the high-tech part except in few of them. So that's why it's a gift, because number one, we're showing our heritage, but in the way that they understand it, the globe. And number two, because you are adding the auxiliary services that I think will bring the customer, the visitor and the tourist more than once. Which is, I'm talking about research center, global research center. I'm talking about conference center, but related to Egyptology. I'm talking about conservations and restorations, activities that's taking place, and visitor can see it on the spot through these different galleries that exist there and centers. So that's what we call it. It's a gift, not just to show what we have, but also to help others to research our history and to look at how wonderful we are doing our restorations. I mean, it's not easy to bring the solar boat of Khufu, of Khafraf, to this location. It's not easy to bring these monuments and restore it and place it in a displayable, authentic way. And this is why it is not just a pride for us, but it's also a gift for the globe.
Well, GEM, Grand Egyptian Museum, will be inspiring the world on Saturday, when all eyes will be on beautiful Egypt. Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim Abdulaziz Hegazy, Professor of Marketing at the Department of Business Administration at the AUC. It's been a great pleasure and an honor.
It's my pleasure, and I thank you very much, and I think you and I are setting history to talk about GEM before others.
Indeed. We're so proud to be part of,
exactly.
part of this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Hegazy. Thank you, dear viewers. Please stay with Nile TV.